This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so this is another session. So we have already discussed about AWS Global Infrastructure, about regions, availability zones, and then about EC2, the first service in the compute section. Hello, Robert, can you hear me?
Is volume is too low. I don't know why.
You can't hear me?
I see if the volume, let me see, the volume is too low. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me clearly?
Okay. Yeah, now it's better.
Okay, fine. All right.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I did a mistake. I just put it on mute. Okay, we are good now. Okay, so what I was saying, so we have discussed EC2 so far, and I'll quickly take you through what we discussed. So these are the regions which we discussed as a part of our AWS global infrastructure. So as a part of AWS global infrastructure, we have regions, we have availability zones, and we have edge locations. So region is where we can select one of the regions we want to work with. Now, depending upon where you want to create your resources, you can create those regions. For me, I'm choosing Virginia. Now, for me, if I'm choosing Virginia, I have these many availability zones available to me, which I can choose while creating my EC2 instances. Okay, so let's start with EC2, which is the primary topic today. So to create EC2, there are several ways to go about it. I can directly click here, EC2. And this is applicable for any of the services. Additionally, I can also search here. So if I do this, it will give me the same option. So I can search, I can go there, or I can also go to my home tab, which is nothing but if I'm here.
So you've already logged in, right?
Yes, I have logged in. So have you created your account already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that case, you should be able to log in now.
Yeah, I did create the account, but I did not do anything with it. I wanted us to have the session before I know how to navigate.
Yeah, that's fine. So if you have created account, it's fine. So whatever we'll be doing today, you will not be getting charged for it. So
Okay.
whatever we do today, if you practice that, you will not be getting charged. So once we create this, in the next session, we will see how to check your charge and how to control it. But for this session, whatever we are going to learn, you will not be getting charged. So for EC2, you can come right from here from your tab, or you can just type in here EC2, and you can go to EC2 directly. Okay, so EC2 is visible. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create EC2 instance, and we'll say launch instance. And this is where we can choose AMI. So what we are going to do today, we are going to create two machines. So first we'll be creating one of the Linux machines, and then we will be creating Windows machine. Okay, so let's say for Linux, we have number of choices. So I have Amazon Linux, Red Hat Linux. So there are different flavors of Linux which are available. Just give me 1 second. I'm getting Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we have different choices which we can select. So Amazon Linux is a Linux offering which is provided by Amazon. So there are few additional commands which you get. You get AWS CLI by default install, and there are few other packages which get installed automatically when you install Amazon Linux. Now you do have Red Hat, which you can choose from. You can choose SUSE Linux, Ubuntu. So depending upon what you prefer working with, and similarly we can choose Windows, and there are some new releases for deep learning AMIs as well. Okay, so we can choose any one of them. Now to make sure that you always choose an operating system which is free and you are not getting charged for it, you can click on this. So there is a checkbox on left hand.
Uh-huh.
If you click on that, then it will make sure that it doesn't highlight anything which is being paid. So if I scroll it, all of the operating system which are free will be visible to me. So even by mistake, I cannot select anything wrong because I have already filtered it using free tier. Now, if I don't do this, let's see what happens. So if I'm not doing this, I will be getting free tier, but I may also get something which is not free. For example, these deep learning, Amazon Linux, these are not free. So if I select it by mistake, I'll be getting charged for it. So we have to make sure that we select something which says free tier eligible, because then only we won't be getting charged for it. All right, so let's select this. So it's a best practice that when we are starting to work with AWS, we select free tier. Now what I'm going to do is I will create one Red Hat Enterprise instance for our case. So first one we'll create Red Hat, and in the next one we will create Windows. All right, so let's create it. So first step, I clicked on launch, then I have chosen my AMI. Let's just write down the steps to make it easier to navigate for the future. So launch instance, so creating EC2 instance. So first step, launch instance is where I have to click. Second, I would say choose AMI, which in our case we have chosen Red Hat. And we are in third one where we are going to choose the configuration, the instance type. Now, what does that instance type mean? So this is something which we have discussed during our slide presentation. So depending upon which environment you want to create and the configuration, so we can see that number of vCPUs, number of memory, storage, optimization, network performance, and everything. So based on your requirement or based on what kind of applications you want to run, we can choose one of these. Now, as we are practicing now, we are into demo and we don't want you to get charged. We will be going with free tier. And do remember that there is only one instance which is free. It's t2.micro. So we have to make sure that we always select t2.micro to avoid
So
any additional charges.
how do you know how much the other ones are? Is there any, how do you know if they are paid, if they are not free, and how much each cost?
Yeah,
How
so
do you?
anything which doesn't say free tier, they will be charged. So if it doesn't come with this tag, if it doesn't say free tier eligible, then they are all charged. And they will be
Okay.
charged based on the configuration. So if, okay, so what you can do, quick check. If you quickly scroll it, you will find that free tier eligible will not be anywhere. You can see that. So I'm scrolling till end, right? And I did not
Uh-huh.
see free tier eligible. So there is just one
Okay.
instance which Amazon has given. So that is the only instance which Amazon has given for the people to practice for 12 months. So 12 months, for 12 months, you can work with t2.micro instances. So it's something with minimal configuration, 1 GB and 1 vCPUs and 1 GB memory. But it is good for practicing. So we can use it for practicing. All right, so let's go there. Okay, and here in case based on your requirement, you can also filter it. So this is nothing but a filter. If you are looking for micro instances or general purpose, compute optimize, so something which we discussed during our slides, memory optimize or storage optimize. If you are looking for
Uh-huh.
search instances, you can filter it using that. All right, so let's go to the next one, which is configure instance details. Now, So this is the place where you decide how many instance you want to create. So if I say 1, it will be creating 1 instance. If I say 2 or 3, depending upon what number I put, so it says number of instance. So any number which I put, it will be creating those many instances. Now, next one, this is for purchasing option, request spot instances, but we are not going to work with that. We are working with on-demand one. So we are not going to click on that. Next one is network. Now this uses VPC. Now what VPC is, this is something which we have already discussed, but let me just show it one more time to make sure that we understand what VPC is. So whenever we create a resource, VPC in your AWS is like a private cloud. So this becomes your AWS. I'm marking it red. Okay, so I'm going to give it, okay, let it get red. I think red should be better. Okay, so that's your AWS infrastructure. Now, if I mark this blue, this is your VPC. Now, anything else you create, if you create EC2 instances, color should be this. Yeah. So if you create EC2 instances, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, or any other resource. So all those will be created inside your VPC. So VPC is what you see in blue. So orange is your AWS global infrastructure, which is your regions or availability zones, while VPC is your private cloud within AWS infrastructure. And inside that, you create all your resources. So whenever we create EC2 instances, it will be created inside VPC. So that was just for understanding so that you know why it is creating it. So we have to choose VPC. Now for the first time, we are going to choose default, and then during networking session, we will learn how to create a VPC of your own. Now in my case, you can see I have number of VPC because I have created them. But for the first time when you run, you can go with default VPC. Okay, and there is another option called subnet. Now subnet, as we have discussed, within a region you have number of availability zones. Now those availability zones comes with the subnet. So you can see that there are 6 available, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this differs from region to region. So you have to remember that your subset differs based on region. So what does that mean? So in case you are selecting any other region, if I work with Ohio, the number of subnet will be reduced. So it may be 3 or 4 depending upon how many subnets we have. For example, let me open it a new one so that we can see that how many are there. So I'm going to check for Ohio, and let's see how many subnets availability zones are there. Depending upon that, I will have those many number of subnets.
Each region have a different number of subnets, right?
Yes. So each region has a different number of subsets.
Subsets, sorry.
So for example, in Ohio, we can see, yeah, so Ohio, we have just 3. And as we know, Virginia is the one which has most number of subnets across all regions. We can check for any other region.
Where is the 3?
Sorry, you are asking where it is 3? Okay, we'll go back to that once again. I'm just checking it for Canada. So for example, I just checked for Canada Central, which is Montreal. It has just 2 regions with it. While Ohio, where we were before, if we'll go back to Ohio, it has 3 regions. Sorry, 3 availability zones or 3 subnets. Yeah, so you were asking something, Robert?
Okay, no, I see. Now you said 3. Okay, now I see the 3.
Yeah, so these are the 3. So similarly, depending upon what regions you choose, you will be finding it difficult. I'll just take you to one more region. Let's say we'll go to Singapore, and we'll just see that it will differ. So it depends upon the region you select, number of availability zones differ, and based on availability zones, you get the subnets. Okay, for Singapore, it is 3, again 3. Yeah, so all of these, they have their own availability zones. All right, so let's come back to what we were doing. So subnet is what you can choose. So when you choose one of these, your EC2 will be created in that particular subnet. But if you're not worried about it, you can leave it to default as well. Now, when you choose default, it will create it in any one of the subnets. So it can choose first one, second one, third one. But in case you want to work with the same subnet, you can choose as well. Okay, and based on the subnet you choose, it will show you how many addresses are available. So each of the subnets, they'll show you the number of addresses, IP addresses available as a part of that subnet. So that's something you can see and you can decide. All right, so anyway, I'm not going to choose it. I'm just keeping it default. So first time we are just going everything with default, and as along the way we will learn new services, we will choose this as and when we are comfortable with it. All right, so I've chosen default VPC, which is my virtual private cloud within AWS infrastructure. And then there is one more option called auto assign IP, and I'm going to select it, enable. Even if I don't do it, by default it is enabled. So even if I don't do it, it is enabled and says use subnet setting. So based on that, it will be enabled. Okay, now there is a placement group. It is required when we want more performance. So in case of performance, we needed more performance and we want all these instances to be part of same placement group so that they will be created on the same data center in terms of speed. So performance will be better. But this is something I don't need to do because I'm not worried about it. Okay, now IAM role is something we are not going to discuss now today. That is something we are going to discuss during security. But for now, let's understand that IAM role is nothing but using this, you can have additional accounts. So for example, you can see that. So we can have additional accounts and we can define roles. So I'll just make a note here. IAM roles can be defined for user.
Is it used
Yeah.
for security?
Yes, it is indeed for security, and we will be learning that during security section. So we will be learning that, but for now I'm just telling you why we are not choosing it. So we are not choosing any role, and later on we will see what we can do with these roles. So mainly your IAM roles, it defines user account for authorization and authentication. So mainly you use for authorization and authentication, and you decide what AWS resource that account or user can access. So that means if I have created some role, for example, if I have created this role, now based on this role, whoever user I have assigned this role to, those users only can access this EC2 instances. Others user cannot access. So that's what it means. So which we are going to discuss later in detail. But for now, we are not selecting any role. Now this is one good tricky thing which we should remember. Now there is something called shutdown behavior. What does that mean? So there are two things: shutdown and terminate. So if by default it is stop, that means whenever you stop your EC2 instance, the regular action will be stopped. That means your EC2 instance will be stopped and you can start it again. But if you change it to terminate, it will be risky. Why it will be risky? That when you will try to shut down, instead of shutting down, it will terminate your instance. So for such a scenarios, what you can do, you can keep it to default, and if you don't want to terminate your instance, you can additionally choose this, and you can say protect against accidental termination. So if by mistake you have clicked on termination, it will prompt you again that do you really want to do that. Okay, and then there are other two options which we are not going to choose for now because there are charges for it. So if you choose them, it will be charged. But that is something we'll be seeing later on, which is what CloudWatch, which is required for monitoring and logging. And then you have something called shared and dedicated. So this is something which we learned during pricing. So anything which you create, EC2 in general, it will be created in shared data center. When you choose dedicated, that means it will be deployed in particular data center for you. So all your instances will be going to that data center. But if you choose that, it will be chargeable. All right, so these are the options which we have chosen, and now we are going to next one. Now, this is the next one where it says add storage. So it is step 4 where we add storage.
And when we talk storage,
Okay.
is it like hard drive, size of hard drive and stuff?
Yes, so it is indeed same as that. So we have mount points in our Unix boxes, Unix or Linux boxes. So we have mount points, we can see those drives and we can store our data there. Similar to that, you have by default, you will get a root drive or called default drive or root drive, which minimum size should be at least 10 GB. So you cannot create anything below 10 GB. So you have to make sure that you have 10 GB at least. If you want additional, maybe few more, you can create new volumes as well. So you can choose EBS volume, and then you can specify what is the size you want, and then followed by. Now this is something which is which we will be discussing later on during storage. But for now, I'll just tell you that there are some options which you can choose. And why these are options are available, because based on the option you choose, it will affect your system performance. Now system performance in terms of read and write operations, so mainly input output operations. So that's something you can choose. By default, it is general purpose and we are going to use general purpose. So I'm not going to create any additional one as well, because we are going to terminate this instance later on. So I'm just removing any additional. Okay. Now by default, you see that there is a checkbox which called delete on termination. That means when you terminate this instance, it will remove this root volume as well. In case you uncheck it, it will remove the instance, but it will not remove this. So it is a good practice that you always keep it checked. All right, so what we have done actually here is just selected. Another thing to be noticed here is just see that this line at the bottom, which says up to 30 GB, it is free. That means per month you can create at least 3 EC2 instances with 10 GB of storage. So up to 3, if you're creating it is fine, because when you create 3, it will be just 30 GB and you will be utilizing 100%. But anything goes beyond that, you will be charged. So I'll just make a note for that as well. Make sure not to go beyond 30 GB EBS.
EBS stands for what?
EBS is called your elastic block storage, which we'll be learning during storage, but you see this EBS. So when you create first time, this is also your EBS as well. So mainly the device, anything which you see as /dev/sta1, that is your EBS storage, which is mounted to EC2. So we have to make sure that we don't create it anything above 30 GB. So first time when I'm creating, it is creating for 10 GB. Next time if I create, it will create another 10 GB. So 10 plus 10 is 20. Now if I create another one, that will make it 30 GB. So up to 3 machines I can create, but if I go beyond that, then I will be charged. So I have to make sure that I am within limits. All right, so let's go to the next one. Now this next one is where I can specify some name. So if I want to assign it a name, I can say EC2 BI, or I'll just say EC2 instance and demo. So I'm just saying I'm creating it for demo, and then I'm saying trainee. I'm just mentioning Robert. So I'm just specifying few other details, trainer.
So this is you're adding what? Instances?
Yeah, so these are not instances. These are just tags we are which providing. Now, why do we use tags? Tag is something you want to store additional information. For example, that will help you at time of billing or at time of auditing or at time of reportings. So using that, what I'm saying is name is EC2 instance demo. So using that, I will know why it was created or what is the name I am providing. So I'm providing it logical name, and then I'm storing some additional details. But from the organization point of view, you will create it, for example, for which organization you're creating. Maybe you will write organization and you will say HR. That means this machine was created for HR. So HR system is running here. And maybe operation, if you want to say, you will say, let's say payroll. So using this, actually you store additional information about your EC2 instances. Now what does this tells you? So tomorrow, after some time, when you come back and you want to make sure why this was created, so you will know that this is the name which you created, and this was created for HR people, so mainly the HR organization within team. And why they are using this machine? They are using it for payroll system. So mainly your payroll system is running onto this. So if you are billing it, you will be billing it to HR team within your organization, and that's how you can segregate it using tags. So you can add tags where you can specify key value pair, and you can have any number of tags up to 50. So 50 is maximum. So that's about just naming and organizing your stuff so that you can use it for reporting and other things. Okay, now this is the interesting one, where first time when you will be creating it, it will create something for you by default. So by default itself, it will create it for you. Now this is something which you can name. You can say EC2 demo security group. Okay, and I will mention the same. Security
So by
group
default,
for,
it gives those names automatically, right?
yeah, so by default those names will be given, but it is recommended that you assign it some name. The reason for that is, if you create number of EC2 instances and then you keep on not giving them name, then all names will look similar, and then it will be difficult for you to find out later on, for that reason. Okay, so right now what I'm seeing, so I have given it a name, and I said I create a new security group, and I gave it a name, and I can see that by default SSH port is open. That means I can access it from SSH port, and it says 0000. That means I would be able to access it from anywhere. Now in case I want to restrict it to my IP, I can choose this. Now, when I choose this, that means I can access it only from my machine. And these are some of the things which you can set only within security group. So security group is act more like a firewall. It decides your in traffic, inbound traffic, and outbound traffic, and that is something you can control. So when you say anywhere, that means you can access it from anywhere. So you can access it, your friend has a machine, he can also access it, and you can access it from anywhere, from your office, from your home, from anywhere you wish to. But when you say my IP, you're just restricting it that you should be in the same network. So you want it that way. Okay, for us, we are just keeping it anywhere. We're in the first session. When we'll deal with VPC, we will be changing these as well. So I'm not adding any other rules. And as and when we want it, we will be opening rules here so that we will also see how to work with security groups. So just remember that for the first time, we are opening SSH port 22 on Linux. So this is the first one. So I'm going just a bit slow so that we are capturing all the details. And then this is the last step, after which we can launch it. There is one more step which we have to do, but I'll just tell you that one. So, but most of the things are done. So this is the review page where we can review it. In case I want to change anything, this is the time I can go about and change things. So I can edit instance types. So anything I want to change, I can change it this point of a time. If I'm happy with everything, I'll just say launch. As soon as I click on launch, it will say select your key pair. Now key pair is a primary public key relation, encrypted key mainly. So private key is something you will be storing, or a public key you will be storing. And then whenever you create your EC2 instances or connect your EC2 instances, you have to have this key. Without this, you won't be able to access it. Now for the first time, because I already have it, I don't have to choose it, but for the first time you will be getting an option to create a new key pair. So first time when you're doing it, you choose this, you create a new key pair, give it a name, and then it will ask you to download it, and then you keep download that one. Once downloaded, you can use that key to connect. So in my case, first time I have already created it, so I'm using it, and then I'm launching my instance. So this is my key, and I'm saying launch instance. So now it's going to launch it, and then it says view launch logs. I can go there and see it's successful. So I can go and see view instances. So I can see that one of the instances creation would be in progress, and yes, I can see that actually one of them is actually running.
Which one is that?
So this is the one which is running. It says pending, so all other are stopped, and this is the one which is running currently. I'll just bring it at the top. Yeah, so it's running now, but it's gonna take a while before we can connect to this. So it will be performing two checks: status checks and instance check. How do I see that? So that's where I can see that. So right now, although machine is running, but it is doing system status checks and instance status checks. So until these two checks are done, I won't be able to connect to that machine. Now, what is the information I need to connect? So let's see the information. And where do I find it? I'll be finding it in description. So till the time this comes up, let's just discuss these. So we did discuss that whenever you create EC2 instances, you will be getting two IP. So public DNS and private DNS, and public IP and private IP. Now, when we want to use SSH, we'll be using public IP. Now, when we want to ping it through Unix box, we can just ping it through private IP, and we will see that once this comes up. So that is public and private IP. Yeah.
In Windows is different, right? Or is it the same?
Yeah. So for Windows also, you will be getting two IPs, and we will see that. So we will create it once this is done. So once we connect to this machine, we will see that how to connect this machine, and once it is connected, we will go and create Windows instance after this. So we will see that how. Yeah, but connection is a bit different for Windows. The way we connect our Linux instances on Amazon, Windows one is different. So for Windows, we have to use something called RDP. While for Linux, you can just use any of the tools, PuTTY or MobaXterm or Super PuTTY, any one of these. Okay, so what all information it shows? So it shows us the instance ID, which we see that right here, and we can also see it here. And then instance state, it shows it is running. It shows the instance type, which we can see. It also tells us the availability zones, which I can see right here as well. And then this shows VPC, the subnet ID, and few other details which you can see. So this shows root device and block device. In this case, root device and block device are same because we have just one EBS volume. So these are some of the information which you can fetch from here. Now there is one more setting which you can do. Maybe in case you feel you don't want to see all these steps, right? You are not interested in seeing everything. You can customize it using show hide column. So there is a setting here. If you click on that, it will tell you what if something you don't want to see. For example, you can see that you right here. So on your right at the top, can you see that?
Yeah.
Setting like thing, yeah. So settings, these are settings. So when you click on that, it says show hide columns. Just click on there, and then based on that, if you want to remove something, for example, maybe instance ID, I feel it is not useful for me, I can just remove it. So I'm removing it. And instance type is what I need. Availability zone is what I need. State is important for me. Status is important for me. Alarm status, maybe I don't want it at this point, so I can remove it. So I don't want that. I don't want monitoring. I don't want even key name. IPv6 addressing I'm not using, so I'll disable that as well. So public DNS is fine. Launch time, security groups, yeah. So maybe I just want these many, so I don't want any other details, and I'll just say close. And let's see the difference. So instance ID is gone, and few other things which I selected. Okay, IPv6 is still here. It shows. Let me remove that as well. So I see that that is also gone. And in case you feel you don't even want to see the launch time, that is not important for you, or security group is not important for you, a security group, let's keep it, but launch time is what I can remove. So yeah, so you can customize it based on what you want to see on the screen. By default, it gives you an interface based on what it feels, it looks good. But if you want it, you can certainly customize it based on what you want to see. Okay, so our checks are done, and I can see that it is both are done. It says 2/2 checks completed. We can see that it says checked passed. So now we can use our public IP, or we can use public DNS as well to connect. So let's connect, and see that how do we connect it. Now do remember that for connecting we do need our key, which we have stored in the first step while launching this machine. So that key will come handy when we will try to connect it. So I'll show you that. So once it comes up, we will connect that and we'll see that it is the same machine. So we'll just run few commands and check that machine is same. I'm just waiting for this to come. Okay, it has come up. So you can use any of the tools. I'm using MobaXterm, but you can use Putty or you can use Super Putty, anything which you normally work with or whatever tool you prefer. So you can use any one of those tools to work with it. So this is where, yeah.
Connect.
You asking something?
So we use the Putty and MobaXterm to do what?
To connect to your instances. So the virtual machine which you created just now.
Oh, okay.
So like I said, so this is the IP. So this is the IP which I picked. Okay, and I'm connecting using MobaXterm. So I gave it IP, and by default username will be ec2-user. So this is what you have to remember. You just have to remember a few times. After that, once you start connecting, it will come on its own. So this is default user in AWS to connect EC2 Linux instances. Okay, and then there is one more step where I have to choose private key. So private key is something which you have to choose. So in my case, it is WebLogic is what I have named. So I'm choosing this one and I'll click on OK. So it should be connecting.
The private key is the one that you save it somewhere in your machine, right?
Yes, exactly. So which you have to do it when the first time you create your EC2 instances. One more thing to be noted here is, which tell me right now. So your key, your private key depends upon your region. That means if I'm working on Virginia, I have to create one key. If I go to some other region, then I'll be creating another key for that. So that is something you have to remember. Okay, so let's run few commands. Let's just check. So we ordered Red Hat. Let's see if it is Red Hat. Yes, so it's enterprise level 7 and GNU Linux 64-bit. So that's fine. Let's check his host name. Okay, so it's 172.3.1.3.5.3.5. Let's just go and match it. It should be the same as private IP. So 172.3.1.3.5.3.5. We are good. So that's the correct machine, and which I can see it right here. So we are good. I can also check other addresses which are visible. So I can say that it has a local address and this is another address, right? So we are good. So I just checked it and I have checked that it has created one of the machines for us. All right, so now how to shut it down? So I've started it, it's running. I can shut it down by choosing state. So there are a number of things I can do with it. For today, we are just going to learn stop and start creating. So I can either reboot it, I can terminate it, and I can stop it. Now, if I terminate, this machine will be lost. But if I stop, it will be stopped and this machine will still be there. So I'm just stopping it for now. Okay, and then we will be going for next item, which is creating a Windows machine and connecting to Windows machine. Now what I can do, I have to repeat the same step with just bit of a change. So I can again click launch instance right from here. Let's click on that. Now what I have to do, so I have clicked on launch instance. Let me do a best practice, free tier only. And this time I'm going to search for Windows. So let me do a Windows. I can actually scroll it and find out, but let me just hit on a search so that I can see that. Now I can see that I have clicked on a search hit Windows and I've got number of options. So I got Windows Server 2016 base, 2016 base with containers, 2012 R2 base, 2012 base. So there are number of different free tier eligible, almost 5 or 6 is what I have. So I'll be going to for the first one, 2016 base image. So this is the first image which I'm selecting. I'll just select yes, and these are all same. So, yeah.
Okay. No, it's okay.
Okay, so that's only the image I'm changing different, rest all will be same. So this is the same t2.micro. So I'll go this time little fast because we have already explained this, and then we will go for next add storage. Okay, so for this one I think you cannot do with less, but let me try. And this one I'll just name it Windows machine. And this time what I'm going to do is, because I'm creating my second security and RDP should be enabled and it is running on 3889 port, I'm going to select my existing security for where I have RDP. Let me see if I have somewhere RDP. Okay, I don't have RDP.
Existing security from where?
This is the security group which I'm creating it for my new machine, Windows. So okay, this security is something which I have already created earlier. Okay, so let's do one thing. So I'm also again going to create new one so that we know we have created something for Windows. So I'm going to name it Windows sec group. Okay, so I've created one for Linux machine and another one I'm creating for Windows security. Okay, so I'm creating two. In this machine as well, there is one default port which will be open, which is RDP, that will be open. So review and launch. I'm in the launch one. I'm good. So two changes for this particular machine. So one change was choosing Windows AMI and other one was security group, which is RDP. Okay, so it says size should be greater than 30 GB, which I'll have to select. So I'm going to select that.
Wait, the size on this one is greater by 30 GB than, which is different from the Unix box, right?
Yes, so that is one restriction. That's why if you play with Windows box, it will be little costlier. You can just create one machine, while in Unix you can create up to 3 machines. So Windows in one go it takes 30 GB, while Linux instance it just takes 10 GB per machine. While for Windows it says 30 GB per machine. So in Windows in a month you can just create one machine, because if you create two machines that makes it 60 GB, and then you will be charged for 30 GB extra for that particular month. So if your requirement is not Windows, I would say you still go with Linux one. So I'm just creating it to show it to you that how do you create Windows instance and how do you connect it. But we will be working with Linux instance most of the time, so that way it will come cheaper, so you won't be getting charged extra for it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change storage and I'll have to make 30. So I was trying with 10 just to ensure that I can work, but I can't because it doesn't allow me. All right, so I'm going to create 30 GB instance for Windows, and now it is saying launched, it is successful. I can go to view instance and it should be creating one for Windows. See that that's the one Windows. I'll just name it from here and I'll say Windows 2016. Okay, so that's going to take some time. Now again, details will be same what we have seen earlier. So it is showing you private DNS, it will be giving you this public DNS and other things soon as machine is ready, and then it is showing you VIP, same thing what we have seen earlier. So it's going to show you the same details. Okay, now we are waiting for it to come. Once it comes, we will be connecting it. It will take a couple of while for status to be passed. Now there are two other tabs which we can see. So description is where it gives description of all the machines. So whatever machines we have created, connected, it will give you detail about all the machine. Status checks, as we discussed, it tells you the status checks which is performs. So system status checks and instance status check, which it is doing right now. So once this is done, it will say 2/2 completed, because these two checks will be done by them. And then monitoring, this it will give you few of the monitoring by default. For example, CPU utilization, disk read write, disk writes, and other. So these all monitoring which you see on your screen right now, they are available for free. But in case you want to create any additional monitoring, if you want to enable detailed monitoring, you will have to pay charges for it. So that is something we can do it in CloudWatch, which we'll be learning later when we will learn management tools. But yes, that is something you can do. And then you can create your monitoring, and then you can also generate something called alarm. So for example, you can see that CloudWatch alarm. So alarm is something you generate based on an event. For example, your CPU usage is high, and you can generate an alarm. So as soon as your CPU goes above 90%, an alarm will be sent to you, which you can again set it to send an email or SMS, anything of that. So that is something you can set it, so that your team will be informed that there is something wrong with your environment. So all these things, setting it up in cloud is really easy. And the last one, which is tag, it is nothing but the name which we gave. So you can see that for the previous machines, this is what we gave in a tag. For this machine, we just gave one. So we'll be just seeing name, which we mentioned, Windows 2016 and Windows machine. So this is what we gave. Okay, so it's because it's Windows machine, it's taking just a bit of a time. Once it comes up, we can say that it is connecting. Okay, in the meantime, let's just see some of the operations which we can do. So you can either go to actions tab, where you can see you can launch more like this. So what is going to do, it will be launching instance similar to what you have already created. And then under state, you can do start, stop, reboot, or terminate. Then you have instance settings, where you would be able to modify some settings for your already created instance. For example, you can change instance, and these are some of the things we'll be seeing in next session anyways. And this is what we'll be doing in next session. And then networking and other things we'll be doing later on. And this is nothing but your CloudWatch monitoring, which is for later on. All right, so this test is passed, both of them is passed. Let's just see how to connect it. So again, it has given us public IP. Now Windows machine is a bit different in terms of connection, and if you don't know how to connect it, you can just right click and click on connect. Once you do that, it will give you one public DNS. It will give you a username and password, so you can get password from here. Oh, okay, so we need to wait for some time for this to come back, because it says 4 minutes. Okay, or you can later, you can also get password from here. So once machine is ready, so how do we connect it? So there are two ways to connect. One way is your regular RDP, which you get from here. So remote desktop connection, which you use to connect. That is something you can use. And other way is, if you click on connect, there's something called download remote desktop. So if you click on that, it will download RDP for you, and when you click on it, it will directly open that instance. But I won't prefer this, because you should not download it all the time. Instead, you can use your RDP for the system, and then you can connect it. But in case for some reason RDP is not enabled in your Windows, you can use that as well. Now we are waiting for the password, which is going to take some time, because it is configured just now. It's going to take a while. So we can see that what time it was created. I'll quickly scroll down and check the time. So it's created at 10:20. Okay, launch time is this, less than 1 hour. So it should be okay now. We should be able to get the password now. Let's see. Still not giving it. So it gives a default password, which is very typical. It's not straightforward, so we have to copy it. Okay, still not ready. It says please wait at least 4 minutes after launching. So our system got ready, but test took some time to be ready. So it should be taking some more time before it comes back. Okay, so I'm gonna see. Okay, so anyways, in the meantime, I will just tell you about AMIs and then we'll come back to this. So we have number of AMIs available. If you click on EC2 and if you click on launch, which we also discussed during our first session in the slides. So if I click on launch instance, I will see that these are quick start AMIs. So that these are the AMIs which are provided by Amazon. So Amazon has provided these AMI pre-configured. You can choose and you can run it. They're all available for free, and there are some which is chargeable as well. But notice that on the left hand side you have number of other options as well. So this is quick start. Next is my AMIs. My AMIs is something which you would be creating, and that is something we will create in next session. So when you create some AMI, you will be seeing it in my AMI. But we don't have anything created now, so you can't see it. But once you create it, it will be here. The next is AWS Marketplace. So these are some of the AMIs which is provided by respective vendors. For example, Big FI, they have given it. If someone wants to use it, they can pay for it and they can use it. So these are some of the, you can mainly buy it from the market. So you have these many products available in infrastructure. You have these many products, developers tools, business tools, and then based on what you want, you can choose one of these and you will be paying it based on what they are demanding. For example, CentOS for LAMP server, it says 0.01 per hour or $79 per year. If you're happy with it, you can buy it from them. F5 if you want to use 2.50 per hour, you can buy it. Another one. So depending on different options they're giving you, and then they are giving you a pricing. But good thing is, as soon as you use these one of the AMIs, they are ready for you. So you don't have to perform any installation. They are all ready. You just launch your instance and it will be ready for you because that image covers everything. Now these are AWS Marketplace, and then we have something called community AMIs. Now these AMIs, although they are free, but they are actually being given by people like you and me. So community. So there is a long community. People do something and then they submit it for others to use it. So now it is up to you to decide whether you want to go with it or not, because different AMIs can have different issues. You don't know them. But yeah, you have to trust your community, and based on that you can choose one of these as well. So you can decide that. Okay, so let's go back. So that was quick introduction about AMI, and again we'll be coming back later in the session.
So what are AMI?
So AMI is actually called Amazon Machine Image. So it's a name for Amazon Machine Image, and you call it Amazon Machine Image. It's a short form of that. So mainly it's because it's on AWS and Amazon has kept it, created all these AMIs. So it's called that. All right, it should be visible now. Okay, it's still not visible. I think it's going to take some long time. Sometimes it does. All right, so no issues. So that's fine. Anyway, we have done till here. And then tomorrow what we would be doing. So we have covered two things today. So we have learned EC2 instances creation. And in the next session, we would be learning EC2 to AMI. So mainly when you create your AMI, how to launch. Before that, we will be doing some installation, HTTP installation, mainly Apache installation on EC2. So mainly we will learn how to work with EC2 instances. So we will be installing few softwares and in EC2, and once that software is ready, we will be creating an AMI out of that operating system. And once AMI is created, we'll be using that AMI to create our EC2 instance again. So which tells us then once we have done the configuration, we can reuse that configuration. We can save that AMI. We can store this AMI somewhere, and using that, we can again create any number of instances. If you want hundreds of instances, you can certainly do that as well. So that's being possible. Okay, so this is taking time, so we won't be able to do it today, but tomorrow we should be able to do it. So we'll wrap it up here for today, and then we again do it tomorrow. Yeah, so it's not working today. It should be ready by tomorrow. All right.
Let me ask you.
So
Is Is there some lab material that I can practice to create the like the Linux and the Windows EC2?
Oh, you want to create it?
Yeah, I wanted to like from my end just to like to do what to like. Is there any lab? Is there any materials I want to practice? Maybe I wanted to see from my end just to practice how to create one.
Yeah, you can do it from the one which you have just ordered, your AWS, or you want to do it on your machine. Not
No,
you don't
I
want to
feel.
do it on cloud.
Is there? Do you have like on your study material? Is there any lab practical material? It's just that I can follow um or are
Okay,
you
okay,
gonna?
I got it. So you want to follow what we have just done today, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can use these videos for that, the videos which we have created. So these videos which you are just seeing, that will again be uploaded, and you can see them again, and using this you can create it,
Okay.
and that will be
I like.
available in the portal.
Okay, I like to do
Okay.
that before next class. Okay, no
Yeah,
issues.
so Firoz, please share details with him so that he can reach the portal and he can see those videos. Please help him out. Okay, Firoz, you
All right.
there? Okay, so in case you're finding any issues later on, just let me know and I'll fix it for you. Okay,
All right.
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.